Howdy folks, Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. And today's video is all about the Bethesda showcase, let's use that word, showcase for E3 this year, that just finished up. So, last year's showcase, the showcase was actually pretty good. And that's when they were talking about Fallout 76, and they were showing it, and everybody was initially going, wow, that seems pretty cool, and of course that's before we knew what was going to happen and everything. But they covered, Wolfenstein, that franchise, and the Dishonored franchise, and the Rage, Rage 2, and all this other stuff. So, fast forward now till today, with this, after everything that has happened, with all of the controversies with Bethesda and Fallout 76, and the actual merchandise fiascos that they had with the collector's edition for Fallout 76, and the canvas bag, and the rum stuff, and some of the other, the person finding the developer's room in Fallout 76 and getting banned, and all these other things that occurred. We see that their focus is on two things in this showcase. Number one, they're really focusing on mobile stuff. Number two, well, let's say three things. Mobile games, the Elder Scrolls Online franchise, and the Doom franchise. That seems to be their main tentpoles. And yes, there was some Wolfenstein stuff in there, so there's some support there and so forth. But that seemed to be their three tentpoles of going forward. Todd Howard barely mentioned Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield. Literally just a mention that, yeah, we're working on those. Yeah, that type of thing. Okay? And on that issue, I would like to ask all developers, name me an instance where that whole cloak and dagger shit has actually worked out okay for you. Where you're just like, oh yeah, we're working on it. It'll be done when it's done, and secretive, and everything is held close to the vest, and you're not promoting your game. You're not getting snippets out there and keeping people tantalized. When has that ever worked out? I'd like to know, because I don't know. I don't think that it has. I think that it works out better when developers engage with the community and say, here's what we're working on. Here's some screenshots, some early stuff that for you to look at. Give us your feedback. We're doing a closed beta. We're doing an alpha. We're going to invite some people into the alpha. We're opening up some community channels, for forums. And get people excited about stuff. Anyway, that's enough on Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield, because they didn't show anything. Nothing. But they did talk a lot about mobile stuff. So they talked about Blades, Elder Scrolls Blades, and they announced that it's going to be on Switch. They talked about Fallout Shelter, and the fact that it hit 150 million downloads. And excuse me, I am looking at my notes because there was a lot of notes. So, but they did, they mentioned that, Fallout Shelter hit 150 million downloads. And then they showed a new mobile game, Commander Keen, based on the Commander Keen franchise, which is a throwback to an early 90s game. One of the first games id Software ever did. It was a side-scrolling action game, very much like an arcade game type, what you would expect in an arcade game. I never played it. I saw it. It wasn't my cup of tea. I wasn't into the whole side-scrolling thing and everything. But I think it did have a certain amount of following back then. And now they're releasing a mobile title based on that. I have no interest in it whatsoever, but perhaps you do. So, anyway, so there was a lot of stuff about mobile games. Fallout 76, they talked about the next update, which is called Wastelanders. And this was the one that I had to chuckle at, because they made a big deal about this update, saying that return of return of NPCs to the game or something like that. And they made it sound like this grand accomplishment that there's going to be actual NPCs again in this game that you can interact with. And they said even with dialogue trees, like they're announcing it like it's this grand accomplishment. Hey guys, that should have all been in the game from day one. Duh. You had it in every other Fallout game. Why the fuck wasn't it in Fallout 76 from the beginning? Don't act like it's this big accomplishment. You know, yay, we got it. And this new, and they had to keep saying free update. NPCs have returned. That's what they kept saying. NPCs have returned to the wasteland. Like, we did it, guys. You know, like this big accomplishment. No, it should have been more humble than that. It should have been something like, you know, and yes, we have, I will even do it. Let me do it. Okay, I can do this. All right. So I'm on stage, ready, and go. And yes, with our next update, folks, we are admitting that we had some shortcomings with the initial launch of Fallout 76 in the game world. And one of those things that we admit to is there should have been NPCs to interact with dialogue trees, the whole bit from day one. Yes, we admit that. And we're making it up to you. In our next update, you will have them. Should have been from the beginning, but mea culpa, they're going to be in there now. Scene. That's how they should have done it. Not like, hey, we did it. We're adding, you know, like, it was, whoo, man, it was rough. But we got it done, guys. Whew. We weren't sure we could do it, but congratulations to ourselves, because, believe it or not, we've got NPCs in Fallout 76. We never thought we'd see this day come. That's the feeling that you got from this showcase today. Anyway, okay, rant off. So that's the big thing with Wastelanders. And of course they kept saying, every update they keep saying, and all of these are free for anybody that plays Fallout 76. Meaning anybody that spent the money to buy the game, which now I'm guessing I haven't looked, but I'm sure it's like $10 now in the bargain bin or whatever. Then they announced, which everybody could have seen coming, that the other update is it's a new game mode. Fallout, it's Nuclear Winter, and they showed a Fallout 51, and basically what it is it's Fortnite in the Fallout 76 game. Cause it's just a battle royale. They even showed it with the map closing in a ring of fire, and it just keeps closing in, you know. And I think they said it was I want to say, like a 50, maybe, I think it was Fallout, they said Vault 51, I mean, it might have been 51 players, or 52 player, battle royale. And then, of course, whoever wins becomes Overseer of Vault 51. Until the next round. And they announced with this that starting tomorrow, there's a 1-week free trial of Fallout 76. So if you don't already own it, if you didn't already go spend $5 or $10 in the bargain bin to get it, you got a free trial coming up starting tomorrow. Congratulations. That was it for Fallout 76. Then they brought out Tango Games, which is making a new game called Ghostwire Tokyo. They're calling it an action-adventure title. And this one actually looks pretty interesting. They're saying that it's got ingredients of, I want to use elements, that's the word I want to use. Elements of the occult and the paranormal. And they did show a trailer, which was very mysterious and everything. But the flavor I was getting from the trailer made me immediately think of stuff like the Daredevil TV show and Doctor Strange, the movie. A mixture of all of that. Martial arts, kind of a anti-hero, or not, a dark hero, Daredevil type character with some Doctor Strange manipulation of time and space elements mixed in. That was the overall flavor I was getting. But that's all they said about it. They just said it's called Ghostwire Tokyo, and it's going to be an action-adventure game. That one actually looks interesting to me. We don't know how it's going to be, but we'll be patient and let's wait and see. That one does have my attention. Then they moved on to Elder Scrolls Online. And again, there was a big focus on this one because it is very popular right now, and it's been very successful for them. And full disclosure, when the alpha was going on for Elder Scrolls Online back in the day, I don't remember what year it was, out of the blue, I get an email from the community director, and apparently Matt Furor, the head guy at ZeniMax, saw one of my videos. I don't know which one. They didn't say which one in particular. He just said, hey, Matt Furor has seen your channel, seen some of your videos or something like that, and he wants to invite you to the alpha. So I had a personal invite to the alpha, which I got into. And then, fast forward a little bit, I did a follow-up video once it launched, because we were under an NDA. We couldn't talk about it, obviously, during the alpha or the beta. But once it launched, I did a long, video about, and I did a review, an early review, because I'd already been playing it, obviously, with the alpha and the beta. And I did an early review because I already knew my feelings by that point. And I was pretty critical of the game at that point because there was a lot of immersion-breaking elements in the game. You would go into the tavern and you could not buy an alcoholic drink. You couldn't role play by getting beer and getting inebriated or anything like that. You could not sit down at the tables. So you couldn't, if you had a guild, you couldn't have people come in and have a guild meeting in the tavern, which how cool would that be? And then have drinks served as, to do the full immersion role-playing type of a thing. And my biggest game breaker for me was there was no underwater exploration. And to this day, there still isn't. You could see shipwrecks with the mast sticking out of the water and everything. And in every other MMO, you would get into the water and you would say, crap, I want to dive down there and see if I can find a sunken chest or something like that, right? Something secret down there, right? You can't do it. And to this day, you still can't. So anyway, I was critical about the game. And then I never heard back on any, I never got any more invites or anything else like that. But doesn't change my attitude, doesn't change my opinion. My opinions are what they are. So that's my full disclosure on that. Now, I will say that they have been doing a great job of, even though I don't play the game, I can tell that they're doing a great job of regular content updates with continuing story elements. They've got the Elsewhere update right now, DLC, whatever you want to call it. And they showed a cinematic, which was fantastic. Their cinematics, I would say, are rivaling Blizzard's now with the World of Warcraft Blizzard cinematics. They're that good. And why can't we get somebody like Blizzard or Bethesda, ZeniMax, whatever? Why can't somebody make a feature-length movie like that? Am I the only one that sees that those cinematics, the quality is so good by these game companies, the animation and everything, that why can't we just get a feature-length film like that? You know, when they did the Warcraft movie, why didn't Blizzard just make it? What I don't get. Maybe would it be too expensive? I don't. Help me out there. I don't know. But anyway, and then they talked about 2 DLCs they got coming out. They got one called Dragonhold, which continues both of these dudes, Dragonhold and Scalebreaker. 2 more DLCs coming later this summer. And it's something like Year of the Dragon, they're calling it. That's what the Elsewhere, and then these. It's all part of a bigger story arc called the Year of the Dragon for ESO. So they announced that stuff. Back when I was talking about the Legends with the mobile stuff, they also talked about Legends, the Elder Scrolls. I think it's a card game. I think that's what it is. So they had the Commander Keen, the Shelter, Fallout Shelter, and then the Elder Scrolls Legends and the Blades. So you got 4 mobile titles that they were talking about there. Then they talked about Rage 2, a DLC for that called Rise of the Ghost. And I have not played Rage 2 yet. I don't know if or when I will. But I have one comment about one thing I noticed. The Doom stuff, the Wolfenstein stuff, and the Rage 2 stuff, all of the combat in the gameplay that they show, it all looks the exact same with different skins. Meaning that if it's Doom, you could just swap out and put the Wolfenstein skins in there and change the demons to Nazis, and then you could turn around and swap them again to post-apocalyptic, cyberpunk type of stuff, and the action itself and a lot of the mechanics and all that all looks exactly the same, regardless of which title you're looking at. And when what bothers me about that is, I still think this is the best Doom title ever made. The Doom 3, when Doom 3 came out, and look at that, I paid $54.99 for that, and that was, I don't remember when the hell that was. That was years ago. Whenever that first came out, I still think that's the best Doom title. Because you were on Mars, you had to explore the space station and everything, and there was investigation elements into it, where you had to read, you had to read notes, and you had to watch videos on your console videos to understand the story and all that, and it was very immersive and all. And now it just seems like everything is just fast-paced action, nonstop. I mean, whether it's Wolfenstein, Doom, Rage 2, just nonstop apeshit action. Which, if you like that, there's nothing wrong with that. But I just think that there should be, even Wolfenstein, the older Wolfenstein titles were more cloak and dagger. You were doing a lot of sneaking around. You were doing a lot of sneaking up and doing takedowns, quietly. Now everything, I mean, this latest stuff that they just showed, same thing, just balls out, apeshit action constantly. And that's just not what I remember. I mean, there were moments of that, of course, in all these titles and in all these franchises, but maybe they're just not showing the cloak and dagger elements and the stealth stuff. Maybe they're not showing that. I don't know. Anyway, that was just an observation I had. But when they got to the Wolfenstein stuff, they announced 2 new games. one called Cyber Pilot, which is Wolfenstein VR. And then the other one was Youngblood, which is the next in the story arc, which will be BJ Blazkowicz he's missing, and his two daughters, his twin daughters. You play as one of them, and then it's also co-op. They said that this one will be co-op available, so you could have a friend jump in, and you could play the twins and go after killing Nazis and all that stuff to get BJ back. And it'll be multi-platform, that Wolfenstein, Youngbloods. So it'll be on PC and all the platforms and all the consoles and everything. So then they showed Arcane Lion Studios, and they have a game called Deathloop, and they kept saying that the same day keeps repeating and everything, and you have to kill or be killed, and that instantly reminded me of that Bandersnatch, Black Mirror Bandersnatch episode of Black Mirror, or Groundhog Day, same type of thing where the same day keeps repeating and all that. There's more. We got to wait and see more about this Deathloop. It could be interesting. I think it's going to be a deathmatch type of a thing, like a King of the Hill deathmatch action game. Then they talked about some new tech, which was this was unexpected. They talked about some new tech called Orion, and this is streaming tech, and it is going to be available regardless of what the game engine is that the developers are running. Using Orion, it will use 40% less bandwidth and increase frame rates and improve latency and do all these things. So I'm not sure how that's going to all work. I don't know if that's something that the end user is going to have to install, or if it's something that developers are going to have to use when they're making the game. They didn't go into a lot of detail about that, but it looks like they're saying it's going to revolutionize game streaming. So we'll have to wait and see about that. I talked about the next one is Doom Eternal, which everybody I'm pretty sure knows. They saved that for last, so that's like their flagship title for this particular showcase. November 22nd is the release date, and they will have a battle mode multiplayer where there's going to be 2 players playing demons against 1 player playing a slayer, and in battle mode. And then my last note is they did not mention the Dishonored franchise at all. No mention, 0 mention of it. The only mention of Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield was a very small, like, hey, we're working on it type of a thing. And that's it, guys. I'm losing my voice now. And it's been talking for almost 24 minutes. So let me know your thoughts. Did you watch it? Do you care? What do you think? What are you hoping for? So until next time, guys, we'll catch you on the flip side.